Welcome back to yet another leg of the India development debate, and this one's a direct and exclusive with Minister of Civil Aviation Jayant Sinha. There really is turbulence in the Indian skies. Jet Airways, once the country's #1 airline, has raised the red flag, unleashing major cost and payroll rationalization. Reports suggest that the airline's top management has informed key stakeholders that it has money to stay afloat for just 2 months. Things are not looking bright for other airlines as well. Top carrier Indigo reported a massive 97% drop in June quarter profit, weighed down by high ATF prices and, of course, currency fluctuations.
Back of the envelope calculations suggest that the Indian aviation industry might have lost around 2,500 crore rupees in the last fiscal alone, despite a recent growth in passenger traffic. So what ails the aviation industry, and what can the government do to give some relief to the sector? To discuss all of that and more, we're joined by Minister of State for Civil Aviation Jayant Sinha on this leg of the India development debate, direct and exclusive. Mr. Sinha, thanks for joining us. One of India's top carriers says it has money barely to survive for 60 days. How worried is the government about the state of Indian carriers and the ground situation there?
We are definitely worried about industry conditions, and of course, as you know, this is a cyclical, capital intensive industry which is very affected by oil prices. It's very affected by interest rates, and of course the rupee makes a big difference to profitability as well. All of these three factors, of course, are now on the negative part of the cycle, and that's definitely affecting profitability in the industry. So we've, of course, been in discussions with all of the industry players, and we're trying to see what it is that we can do to enable the industry to be more competitive and to be able to generate adequate returns going forward.
No, I understand some of the factors that you're saying, but you know, the situation that we pointed out for Jet is no different for others. Air India is struggling to stay afloat. Indigo's profits have crashed 97% last quarter. Analysts say aviation industry, in fact, closed the year fiscal 18 with a net loss of upwards of 2,500 crore rupees. Yes, ATF is a factor that you say, and rupee is also a factor, and cyclical issues, all right. But what are the other factors contributing to this rather precarious position, this pocket of turbulence that Indian aviation finds itself in?
We do go through periods where we make high profits, and then there are periods because of external conditions like high oil prices and so on, where we go through a patch where profitability is lower. So we are going through that cycle right now, and of course when you go through that cycle, our goal is to ensure that whatever we can do as far as government is concerned to ensure that industry-wide conditions are as appropriate as possible for competition to flourish, that those conditions are in place. So we've done a lot as far as ease of doing business is concerned. We've done a lot as far as reducing certain types of charges are concerned. So we've tried to be able to support the industry and to be able to get the industry through a difficult period, which of course it's going through right now.
Right. Mr. Sinha, the irony is that RBI has alluded to the increase in passenger traffic as an indicator of strong growth, and airlines are bleeding. So what sort of respite can the government really offer from here on?
We have to ensure that policy is as supportive as possible and that whatever we can do to ensure that costs are reasonable for our carriers, that those in fact are in place. That's what we can do as a government. But it is in fact industry conduct, the way in which players compete against each other, their pricing behavior, their capacity additions, how they charge for certain types of services. Those are the kinds of things that actually do drive profitability on a more near-term basis. So really, in terms of what can be done to improve industry profitability, that's actually much more in the hands of the industry players themselves. Of course, our goal, as I've said before, is to ensure that the policy environment is as supportive as possible.
You know, when you talk about the policy environment, UDAN, of course, is a very ambitious scheme where you want the hinterland to be connected, the tier 2, tier 3 cities to be connected. It's ambitious. You want most Indians to fly. But given the health of the sector and the health of the players that we've spoken about, how viable will some of their business models be to embrace UDAN? And the counter question also is UDAN perhaps aggravating this problem because everybody sees this pie and would want to grab it? Is that one of the issues that's also aggravating the mess?
I don't believe that is the case, Supriya, because what we've done with UDAN is we've provided a host of very generous incentives for people to take on these underserved and unserved airports and to really open them up, which is why Udan has been as attractive and as successful as it has been. Whether it is taxes on ATF, whether it is airport and landing charges, the exclusivity period, the actual VGF that we are providing, when you put that package together, the Udan routes actually, I think, are very profitable and very attractive for airlines. So I don't think Udan is contributing to that. I'll point you again to what I said earlier. It really is industry conduct that will get people through this part of the industry cycle.
Right. Since we are talking about the state of aviation, can't not talk about Air India, Mr. Sinha. The government yesterday announced appointment of Kumar Mangalam Birla and YC Deveshwar on the board of Air India as independent directors. What's the rationale behind this? And do you realistically believe a turnaround is still possible in Air India?
We definitely believe that Air India is on track to become a great global airline, and we absolutely want to position Air India for future success and make it very, very competitive. And we will benefit greatly from the business experience and the leadership skills of these two very eminent business leaders when they join the Air India board. And of course, as we've said over and over again, we think when you really look at the underlying business that Air India has, leave aside the debt and the problems associated with the merger of Indian Airlines and Air India, you take those factors that are really legacy factors and you put them aside and you look at what Air India has been able to do over the last few years in terms of a very, very successful turnaround. We really do believe that Air India is poised quite well for the future.
All right, but while we're talking about Air India, and like you say, and whatever you've said makes me wonder that given the state of the industry and obviously further weakening of prospects for Air India to get strong bids, is it safe to presume here that, especially with the appointment of the two very eminent industry captains, that the sale decision perhaps is being reviewed, rethought, reconsidered?
The government remains committed to the disinvestment of Air India. We are obviously looking for conducive market conditions to be able to do this. And at the same time, while we are waiting for that and we are working on strengthening Air India, we want to make sure that it has every chance to succeed and be able to create the global network that India needs as the economy grows, as our businesses flourish. We really want to make sure that in India, from our big hubs of Mumbai and Delhi and in the future Bangalore as well, that we are able to have direct connectivity to the world's large global commerce and business centers, so that we can really enable the Indian economy to move forward and be globally very competitive. So we do need an airline like Air India. We need to position it for success in the future, and there is absolutely no reason why, with the right support and with the right leadership, which of course we are getting with these two eminent business leaders joining the board, that Air India cannot be as successful as a British Airways, a Qantas and Emirates and so on. It has all the elements necessary to be that successful.
Optimistic as always, saying that the infusion of these two eminent business leaders could help in the turnaround story of Air India. Of course, there's a cause of concern for the overall aviation sector as a whole, largely due to cyclical issues. Appreciate you taking the time out and joining us with your perspective on IDD Direct Live and Exclusive.
All right, completely timed out on this edition of the India Development Debate. Thanks very much for being with us. Up next is Top 10 at 10.